Well, good morning, Canada. Welcome to the first sip. We're back today, Tuesday, and I hope you enjoyed yesterday's shows. Let's start your day with a hot cup of Canadian reality right now. Really, it's kind of North American reality. Today, we're going to talk about something that's becoming impossible to ignore, pretty much. The liberal meltdown over Jimmy Kimmel being preempted after his comments about Charlie Kirk. Liberals across the United States are crying foul right now, claiming that free speech has now been compromised, that comedy is under attack, and that this is somehow the death of open dialogue in North America. And here in Canada, we've got our liberal icon, Sarah McLachlan, who decided to cancel her upcoming performance at the premiere of the Lilith Fair documentary, citing the so-called dangers to free speech right now, the dangers to women's rights and to LGBTQ2S plus communities and protections in the current world. Sounds noble, Sarah, doesn't it? But here's the thing. Here's the thing that nobody wants to say out loud. Liberals only care about free speech when it's their speech, when it's their voice, their ideas, their causes. The second someone from the right, whether it's Charlie Kirk, whether it's Jordan Peterson, whether it's Ben Shapiro, or even everyday conservative Canadians posting online, whenever they dare to speak against the progressive dogma, the knives come out, the petitions start. The cancel culture returns. The advertisers are pressured. The mob forms. And the very same people who preach tolerance are the ones silencing, deplatforming, and destroying. Let's go.
Welcome to Bakes on Things.
Good morning, Canada. Welcome to the first sip with Bakes on Things. Boy, I almost burned off my hand there. I got to be careful. Welcome to our second episode of the first sip, and we are going to talk about some hypocrisy this morning, folks. But don't forget to like, subscribe, and of course, join the conversation down below. You can also hype this video. Let's be clear. The very idea of cancel culture was a liberal invention. Conservatives didn't come up with a system where someone could lose their job for a tweet or get chased out of universities for inviting the wrong speaker. That was the left. Universities that claimed to be safe havens for free thought became indoctrination camps where only one perspective is allowed here. Try inviting someone like Ann Coulter, for example, or even J.K. Rowling to speak on campus today. You'll be met with, well, you guessed it, protests, blockades, somebody with purple hair will pull a fire alarm, and administrators caving to the mob at all costs. That's not free speech. That's mob rule disguised as morality. And it's not just fringe activists either within the liberal realm. This is mainstream liberal culture now. Remember when Jordan Peterson refused to be compelled by law to use government-mandated speech around pronouns? The entire liberal machine, and I mean the entire liberal machine, from media pundits to activists, branded him dangerous, hateful, and unfit to teach. Did anyone on the left defend his right to free expression at all? Of course not. They wanted him gone, silenced, erased from the ether of Canada. Or look south of the border, for example, the coordinated effort to ban Donald Trump from every major social platform after he lost the election and January 6th happened. Now, whether you love or hate Donald Trump doesn't matter here. Think about what actually happened here. A sitting president of the United States was silenced across the internet in less than 24 hours, not because of a conviction in court, but because liberal activists pressured corporations into believing that silencing one side of the political spectrum was keeping people safe. It was not. Imagine if the shoe were on the other foot. Imagine if Barack Obama or Justin Trudeau had been banned from all communication platforms by conservative tech billionaires. I mean, imagine if we did that. The world would still be screaming about authoritarianism today. But when it happens to conservatives, liberals will call that justice because somehow it's not okay to have fact based opinions. It's only okay to scream and shout about things you've never researched in your life. And that's why Sarah McLachlan's move is so telling. She says she's canceling her performance because free speech is under attack. Is that true, Sarah? Okay, well, she also stood silently. No, she stood in approval when her own side shut down conservative speakers, writers, and artists over the last decade. Where was her voice when books were banned from libraries because they didn't fit the woke agenda? Where was her boycott when comedians like Dave Chappelle, who also were telling comedy, were called transphobic and dragged through the mud for making jokes? Where was her outrage when artists and academics were fired for simply holding opinions that clashed with progressive orthodoxy? Well, she was silent. That's where she was, just like the rest of the liberal crew. Because free speech to her and to liberals like her has always meant free speech for me, but not for thee. This is the core hypocrisy of liberal culture. They posture as defenders of freedom, but in practice, they are the censors. They claim to champion tolerance, but in practice, they are the most intolerant faction in our society today. They condemn hate, but in practice, they are often driven by hatred of anyone who disagrees with them. And when they lecture the rest of us about cancel culture not existing, all you need to do is look at the trail of destroyed careers and silenced voices to know that they're full of shit. The Kimmel saga and McLachlan's cancellation just expose all of this hypocrisy on a much bigger stage. Because the truth is, liberals built the cancel culture machine themselves. Then they weaponized it. And now, when that same weapon even hints at being turned on them, they cry foul. They demand that the rules suddenly change. They insist that their free speech is sacred, while yours, well, that's disposable because you're a conservative. So tomorrow, when liberals clutch their pearls at something else and wail about freedom of expression, remember this. They are not defenders of free speech. They are the ones who compromised it in the first place. They are the ones who turned debate into censorship, disagreement into punishment, and comedy into compliance. It didn't start with Sarah McLachlan, but Sarah McLachlan's cancellation of her concert only highlights the hypocrisy of all of this even further. She doesn't stand for free speech. She stands for liberal speech, and that's not freedom. That's control. And control, my friends, is exactly what they've always been wanting. This is what liberals are looking for. Look at the way our prime minister behaves. It's exactly what they're looking for. This has been wild. It has been wild. But it's not something that's necessarily going to go away just yet. But if we start to reject it, if we start to push back against liberal cancel culture and wokeism, we might actually be able to return to a society that has free speech and can actually have spirited debate without the world trying to cancel them, trying to end their careers, trying to force them into the darkness and force them to believe opinions that they know are untrue. Thanks so much for watching The First Sip. Apologies for yelling into the microphone, but thank you for watching. I'm getting all fired up here, even with just, I haven't even had a sip of this coffee yet with you, but I'm going to go do that now. Enjoy your Tuesday. Thanks for watching. And don't forget again to like, subscribe, comment down below. And of course, you can hype the video as well. We'll see you at 6 o'clock tonight with The Last Word. Have a great day.